Hello everyone, welcome back. We are doing an oil change, oil filter and fuel filter change on both the New Holland and the John Deere 5205 this evening. Ground's still wet, we can't get in the field, but we want to get them ready. When the ground does dry up, we can get to work. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure everyone's serviced an engine, and we're just draining the old oil out. We're gonna change the oil filter, and then of course we'll change the fuel filter, and we'll kind of walk you through that process as we go. But we're gonna let it drain there, make sure it drains good. I've run the tractor, got it warm, so the oil drains a little better. So we'll get to work. Okay, we've got the oil filter removed, and I always like to wipe it off so it'll seal good. And we got our new filter. And I always put a coat of oil on the gasket so it'll slip and tighten up good. So now, if this oil filter on the John Deere, we'll do it a little differently. I hope you guys can see this, but we're going to tighten that up, put our plug back in the oil pan, fill it up with oil, start it before we change our fuel filter. So hang on. Okay, now comes the part that a lot of folks with a diesel engine, set it down, dread, have issues with a lot of times, is the fuel filter. Now this one so far has been pretty easy as far as changing the fuel filter and getting it airlocked. But that's it right there. What I'm going to do is the new one, which is right here, I will prime it with diesel fuel. I'll fill it up with diesel fuel, and then I'll put take the old one off, put the new one on, and then start it. If you do get them airlocked, there are always bleeder valves on a diesel somewhere, and you can see there's a bleeder valve right here, and there's a manual hand pump on this one right here. So if we have to, we'll bleed it out. John Deere, we may have to bleed. It's a little more finicky, but so let's get this one off and put the new one on. One thing about this New Holland, there is an O-ring on your new filter. They usually don't come off with the old one, so you got to always watch for that. We got our new filter and it's primed. So we're gonna get it up here. Anytime you have a fuel filter that you can prime it, because it'll save you some headache. Small filter wrench. Another thing about fuel filters, you know, a lot of people hand tighten them. If you can, I put a wrench on them. they will work loose. Don't get crazy with it, or you will be cutting it off when you go to change it. But I do tighten them up. I want that a good snug fit. So I'm gonna check the oil in it, and then we'll see if it'll start. Alright, it started. It may run a little rough. It may have a little air in it. We'll let it sit there and run for a minute. We'll be done with this one. We'll move on to the John Deere. So hang on. Okay, now it's the John Deere's turn. We're draining the oil out of it. Once again, I'll let it run. Get some heat in it so it'll drain out better. Notice I took the fill cap off. It'll drain a little better than it will if the cap's on. So we'll let it drain out. Once again, we're changing the oil filter and fuel filter. So that's this one can be a little more fun with the fuel filter, but we'll give it a try. Now, one thing I do try to use, if at all possible, on the New Holland, I use New Holland case New Holland filters. On the John Deere, I use John Deere filters. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with any of the aftermarket filters. Some of them are very good quality. Some of them actually may be better quality than the brand name. But what I'm going for is the correct filtration required, you know, that the machine calls for. So that's why we always use Deere or case New Holland filters. So we'll get back to work and see what we can come up with. Once again, we're going to wipe our filter housing base off there. Now, a lot of people will use new oil for the seal the gasket. Oil's oil in this application. So and once again, I do snug my filters up. Just to make sure they don't work loose. Okay, now it's time for the fuel filter on the John Deere, and it's a little different. We got a shut-off valve right here, so we're going to shut the fuel off, and it's got a locking ring that you just turn and the filter comes down. So once the locking ring comes down, then the fuel filter just comes off. And we'll pour it out. That's your fuel filter. So here's our new fuel filter, and once again we're going to prime it. The way I like to prime these things, I just take them out of the wrapper and use the box that they come in to hold them. and then we'll just fill it up with fuel out of a can, and we'll spill some everywhere. That's just normal. Now, with the prime pump, you can do the same thing, but makes life a little easier, a lot less pumping if you do this. This filter's got a couple of notches on it, and you got to find where the notches go up in the housing. So what I do, I just put it on here and I turn it until I feel those notches engage. Alright, put my lock ring back on it. And then turn my fuel on. Now, on this one, right here on top, is a prime pump. And I'm going to pump it until it gets good resistance against it. And then, right here's your bleeder valve. I'm going to crack that, pure fuel. Pump it again. That got a little air that time, so we'll pump it again. Got a little air that time. I believe we're good. Alright, so what we're going to do, pump it back up, wipe our fuel down, and we're going to see if it'll start. Make sure my valve, right there, and we'll see if it'll start. Now, a lot of times they'll start and then run out of fuel. So I like to hear the change in the motor. It got into some air there. We'll let it run there until it smooths out. That John Deere is pretty bad to get air in it. It'll run rougher than a cob for a little bit. But that's got the fuel filter, oil filter, and oil changed in both tractors. I'll be right back. Okay, that's got both the tractors, the oil changed, fuel filters, etc. The next service, I'll change the hydraulic filters and the air filters. Didn't do it this time. So, don't matter what kind of equipment you got, brand wise, how old it is, how new it is, changing oil is key in the engine and fuel filters, particularly in tractors where you're running dust and stuff like that. But hopefully we're going to get some dry weather, and I plan on running these tractors and running them hard if it does. So I wanted to get them serviced, been meaning to, just hadn't had the opportunity. But they're serviced now. Hopefully we'll get you some footage of us putting them in the field before too long. And you know, we'll see. The weather is what the weather is. So anyhow, if you like what we're doing, want to follow along, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. See a video you like, give it a thumbs up. If you got a question or a comment about one, please do so. Until next time, everybody take care of yourself. We'll talk to you later. Bye.